Hey, this is Dan from Ramblin' Ambition, and today we're going to talk about, you guessed it, toilets, and why picking the right toilet for your van life experience is going to make a difference. It's always challenging to figure out where you're going to put the toilet and how it's going to operate, and its form, function, and size is a big part of that. For the DIYer, there are really three main types of toilets. There's a composting toilet that uses a bucket for number 2 that has some kind of composting material and an agitator in it, and it usually separates the solids from the liquids. There is a separator toilet, which is what we're looking at today, where you have a separate space for urine, or number 1, and a separate space for number 2. This toilet is designed particularly just to have like a bag where you'll use a one-time use. If you have to do number 2 in the van, all you have to do is take that bag, wrap it up, and throw it in the trash. The third type of toilet that's available are your traditional cassette style toilets that the solid and the liquid waste goes in the same spot. The challenge with those often is that you have to dump them. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at the Trelino toilet. So stick around to the end and we'll talk about why the Trelino toilet was the choice for us. So the Trelino toilet is a separating toilet, and what it does is it has a basic space that separates the liquids from the solids. And so you have a large bowl here where you go number 1 in, and then basically a chute that dumps into it's just a trash can that you put a bag in. What makes this nice is that the toilet is super simple, it's super compact, and it's going to make maximizing our space that much easier. So a couple dimensions on this. This toilet is 13 inches wide. So from here to here, it's 15 inches deep from back to front, and it's 17 inches tall, or 16.9 inches tall from the floor up. And what that does is it gives you a comfortable seating position so that regardless of what height you are, it's a really good position to go to the bathroom. Now the parts to this toilet are pretty simple. You have a lid and a seat that's combined. It does have a nice soft close to it, which makes it nice because you're not having to worry about things slamming or slapping down, and it just lifts right off. You have a waste bucket and it comes with compostable bags. You have a pee container that has a nice handle and a lid. And that's it. It's super simple design. It's a super simple setup, and it's going to work great for us. Now you might be asking yourself, how does it keep the liquid from splashing around? And inside of the lid that goes on that cup is a little duckbill valve. You can see it. And basically the urine comes through and then that seals back up. So if you do have some splashing around while you're driving, it keeps it contained to the container. You'll notice on the bottom of the catch area where the number 1 goes, there's a little funnel that goes right into that duckbill. So you have a nice transition into it so it won't splash around. So the bucket that you have to do number 2 also comes with a lid so that when you have to use it, once you tie that bag up, if you're not in a place where you can throw it away right away, you can keep it in here and just put the lid on it. Now in our old van, we used a Nature's Head composting toilet. And it has the same kind of system where you have a urine area and then you have a spot for number 2. And that has a handle that you just open up that goes down into a bin. Now, the Nature's Head toilet is a composting toilet, which means it uses a composting material. In our case, we were using coconut fiber to make it work with an agitator. One of the other things and the drawback of a composting toilet is, one, you have the composting action that needs to take place, but you also have to vent that toilet to the exterior, which requires a 12-volt power source and then a vent to the outside. Now inside of this, you see the coconut fiber with the agitator. It's clean. And then you have a urine tank that you just pull out. Now we mounted that toilet on a set of 500-pound slides, and it basically just slid out from underneath the upper cabinet compartment. And so it fit really nicely in the cabinet configuration that we had, but we found out that we really never used the number 2 side of the toilet. So we found after having the van for a couple years that really we were always near someplace where we could use the type of bathroom where we could go number 2 and it wasn't a big issue. And even in an emergency situation, it was nice to have it available, but to clean it is just not worth the hassle. Now there's another style of toilet out there that is a separating style of toilet. It just separates things a little differently, and that is the Lavio flush toilet, which is a lot of people have a tendency to like, because you can go number 1 or you can go number 2, same system, and then when you flush the toilet, it basically spins a bag and creates another cavity. So one of the reasons why we picked the Trelino toilet for our van project this time was, one, because it fits into a really small space, which I think is going to be very useful for us because we're trying to maximize storage. The second thing is cost. So cost is one of those factors that we all have to take into account. This toilet cost around $600 for the large size, which is the one that we purchased. And versus the composting toilet, like the Nature's Head toilet, was almost $1,200, plus you have to have a vent and power. The Lavio flush toilet, what I just spoke about, also cost about $1,000, but the cartridge pack that uses is fairly expensive. And so depending on how long you're going to be out, you may have to have 1 or 2 of those cartridge packs. And from what I've heard, that even if you use the liquid stabilizer that goes into the bowl to kind of solidify the pee, it can slosh around some. So for us, that really wasn't something that we were interested in dealing with. And to be honest, the real reason at the end of the day is that we found that we primarily used the toilet to go number 1. And so what I wanted was a toilet that had the largest capacity. And so this toilet, the Trelino, the large size, has got a 2.6 gallon reservoir for number 1, which is the biggest one that I've been able to find. And if that's truly what you want to use it for, it really is the best bang for your buck, as far as being able to have a toilet that'll separate the urine, give you the peace of mind that if you have an emergency and you have to do number 2, all you got to do is put a bag in that container, do your number 2, and then tie it up and throw it out. And then it's not in your van, it's not stored in the van, you don't have to worry about the smell. So to kind of recap, there are, a few basic styles of toilets. There are the traditional camping toilet that uses a chemical product to keep the smell down and to help digest the waste. Those you can buy at any RV store. You just have to be able to empty that cassette because it holds both number 1 and number 2. The second style is composting toilets, where it does separate the urine, or the number 1, from the number 2, but you do have to have compostable material in there to help break down the poop, and you have to worry about venting and having power to that space to make sure that there's significant or sufficient airflow to let the composting do its job. Those toilets have a bigger form factor, so you're going to need a little bit more space in your van to put them. You have the separating toilets, and there are several different versions. Trelino is just the one that we took a look at, but they all have the same basic feature in that there's a space for number 1, and that's going to go into some kind of containment vessel, and there's a space for number 2, which also goes into some kind of containment vessel, which is basically like a trash can. And they're usually lined with the bag, and it's a single-use option, and you get rid of it. And then there's the last one that I'm going to talk about, which is the Lavio flush toilet, which is kind of a combined both liquid and solid number 2 toilet, but it uses a mechanism to seal and tie off a bag so that you have multiple uses out of the same kind of cartridge. The challenge with them, of course, is that you have to dispose of that entire cartridge when it's done, and those cartridges are fairly expensive. So for us, the big thing with the Trelino toilet was, one, the cost. Two, its form factor is small enough where we can fit it into a space that we had designed in the van that doesn't take up the precious storage space. Number three, it really focuses on using the one thing that we use the most, which is the liquid container for having to go number one, but also gives us the peace of mind that if we ever have to go number two, there is an option for that. I'll leave a link in the description below where you can go check this toilet out and see if it's the toilet for you. Like I said, it's super simple, and the company is very focused on being environmentally friendly, which is another big deal, especially in the van life community. So let me know if you made it this far. Give yourself a thumbs up. Let me know what you think of the video, and let me know what your challenges are with taking a look at trying to figure out which toilet is best for your van. Thanks. This is Dan from Rail and Ambition, and we'll see you next time.